And there's that distinction between orthodox material and alternative information. A good example is Graham Hancock, all of whose books I have and most of whose books I've read. Graham Hancock is considered I think Graham Hancock is an extraordinary scholar. And what is a scholar? What is a scholar? A scholar is somebody that knows about a certain subject. It's not necessarily somebody that has a college degree. Though sometimes if you get a college degree, you're going to know a lot about a subject. But if you get a college degree in a subject, usually you're in a box. You know what they feed you, what they tell you in the college courses. And sometimes to really know a subject, you need to go outside of the box. You need to go outside of orthodoxy. And regarding ancient mysteries material, Graham is one of the very best in the world. How do I say that? Well, I know Graham. Graham did the foreword for one of my books. It's somewhere around here. Yeah, where is it? Well, one of my books. Graham did the foreword for the book. And Graham, really, what I'm trying to get at is Graham Hancock is really a scholar when it comes to ancient mysteries. And two things about Graham Hancock. He's been to the places, and he reads a tremendous amount of books. Graham Hancock, foreword by Graham Hancock. The last time I was with Graham was at his house in Bath, England, and I said, Graham, can I take my iPhone around your house and photograph all the books in your library? So what I do is I didn't open up each book, but I would take the pictures like this, and then you see all of the titles. And so after I was at Graham's and I took all the pictures of all these books, then I went back and I got on my iPad and looked up a lot of the books a lot of them. If I didn't recognize the title, then I'd look up the book, and if I wanted it, I ordered it. So that's how I keep building my library. Yeah.
Well, just in wrapping up, you mentioned Graham earlier. Could you talk a little bit about Graham's influence on this field of study?
Graham's influence on this field of study, Graham and I, this is not disagree, we differ. Graham studies ancient places, some of which are sacred sites. I study sacred sites, some of which are ancient places. So there's some intersection between us. I have been following Graham's work. Graham wrote an incredibly important book. This is, again, you cannot talk about ancient mysteries if you have not read this book. I've read this book twice. This is sort of like the Bible of this. This is so important that you read this book. Graham now knows quite a bit more than he wrote this book. I don't know what was the publication date on this, 1995 or something. I don't know. Here shows you that I've read the book. You see all those numbers there? Those are page numbers where there was important things that I didn't know, and then I learned it after I read the book. So again, what I'm saying is if you haven't read these books, you should be quiet until you have read the book, because you cannot be involved in an intelligent conversation about the subject if you don't have sufficient information. I didn't. I was reading this book. I drove from Sedona down to Tierra del Fuego. Here, map of Chile. In 1998, I got in a Volkswagen van like this one here, and I drove 22,000 miles through 14 countries. Took me a year to get down here. Okay? So, along the way, I read this the first time. So, Graham, incredibly important person. Incredibly important person. There's 4 of his books here, a few more here. Really important person. Yeah. Great guy. Great guy. What? But I think for ancient mysteries, in paleoanthropology, Graham is the most important person alive on the planet today. It's essential that you read his stuff. But a lot of university academics, because they're in a certain sort of box, they have been told that something is this old. Yeah, Graham's work is very important. It's very important. And Robert's bringing Graham here. Anybody that's watching this, here's a plug for Robert too. If you can, Graham is a great speaker, super friendly, great speaker. great presenter, and he's coming here what next year?
April
what?
19th to the 20th, next year, 2025. It's Easter weekend.
Yeah, so if you can, come to that. Sedona is also a nice place to hang out in, but then you get to meet Robert and you get to hang out with Graham and hear some really good information. Yes. And even if you, the thing is, even if you come and you hear Graham speak, if you ask Graham, he'd say, okay, I can talk about that, but please read the book too. Right. Please read the book too. Read the book. Read the book. Yeah, read the book.
Yeah, what I like about what you guys are doing, Martin, is you're getting down to the nitty-gritty, diving deep into all the information, making that available to people. Then they can make critical thinking choices that are much more positive for moving forward.
See, he just said a really valuable thing. Robert said, you've got to be informed before you can make a decision. You know, you got to be informed before you can make a decision. So Graham is fantastic for that. He's the best for that when it comes to the ancient mystery stuff. And he's a really good filter too. Really good filter. Graham doesn't put forward rubbish. He doesn't put forth new age abstractions and fantasies. No, he really said, he goes to the places, all the places Graham writes about, he's been to. So Graham Hancock, in my opinion, is eminently trustworthy.